Not when they're winning, when their backs are against the wall. Kawhi finished with 34, PG at 31. Instead of PG-13, PG-31. There you go. As Clippers get the win, get back in the series. Here's Paul George after the game.
They lit a fire under us. We had to come out and play, protect our home court. The way Dallas came here and had their way with us, we knew we had to come here and protect this home court.
What was different for you personally?
Myself, I just shoot. You know, just shoot. Don't worry about the results. Just shoot. Shoot some more and shoot again. So, you know, I just came out to be aggressive, find my shot, and just stay with it.
You're right back in this series. What's going to be the key to tying this thing up on Monday?
Let this one go. Get ready for game 4. Same attack mentality. Play as a team.
Joining us here now, Mr. Clipper himself, Chris Broussard. Broussard, can your Clippers continue to rely on Paul George? Make this a series.
Well, speaking of Paul George, is it just me or does it feel like every post-game interview is a referendum on his mental state? Is he feeling confident?
Right,
is he being hesitant? Where is he at? You know, so it's just strange that way. But look, the Paul George to give you 31 points, 6 of 10 shooting from 3. And are we getting that Paul George the rest of the series? No. But we can get a Paul George who, and we will, I believe, get a Paul George who can play well enough for the Clippers to win this series. Paul George is going to give you 20-plus points every night. He's done it every single game in this postseason. That's 10 games. Now, it might be inefficient. It might not be the best game, but he's going to get his 20-plus points. And if Kawhi is truly unlocked, as he was in Game 3, and if that's the Kawhi we're going to see for the rest of the series, and just one role player per game steps up and breaks out. It was Nick Batum with 17 points in Game 3. Reggie Jackson has dropped a 20-piece here and there. 29, I think, in Game 2. Marcus Morris with the 7 threes, was it? In Game 7, 6 or 7 threes in Game 7 against Dallas. If they can just get one role player to step out of himself and play an exceptional game, plus Kawhi at the top of his game, Paul George's 20-plus will be fine. Of the 4 games remaining, I'm saying it's going 7, I think George will have one more excellent game as he did in Game 3, and he was very good in Game 2 as well. I think he'll have 2 very good games, or 2 good to very good games, and 1 more mediocre game. So, bottom line is he can play well enough as the second guy to Kawhi for them to win this series.
How about that?
Chris, we talked about this Friday, and what I asked for was an easy 30, and he gave us that 30. I don't think they win and they advance if you don't get Paul George playing this way. I hear you on that, but just an okay or an average or a good Paul George doesn't get the job done against the #1 seed, the Utah Jazz. Now, people continue to disrespect this team, but they're good, right? And we're talking about Donovan Mitchell all last week. Like, it's time to put him in the same conversation as LeBron and Steph Curry and KD, et cetera, et cetera. So if that's the case, then you need Paul George to play the way he played. And I just don't see that happening. And one of the reasons why you keep hearing him talk about his mindset, and that goes back to the bubble where he reveals, like, look, I start talking to a therapist. I'm dealing with some depression. And a lot of that has to do with confidence as a player. As a player, and anybody for that matter, when you lose your confidence, you are done. You are cooked. So think about what he was just saying in his press conference after, after when he was interviewed after the game. He was like, I just kept telling myself to shoot, to shoot, to shoot. If you're a player, any sport, and you're out there thinking about the results, if you're thinking about, wow, is Brandon Marshall going to say playoff P? Is Stephen A. Smith going to say this? Chris Broussard? Like, you're done. So for him to go out there and say, I don't care about what they're saying, and I'm just going to shoot, I don't care about the results, it says a lot to where he's at. Now, can he maintain that is the question. If he can maintain that mentality, then they may be able to come out this series.
Yeah, listen, I'll give Paul George credit. We said on Friday, as Brandon alluded to, there had been 58 30-point games these playoffs by 21 different guys. Paul George was not part of that group, and now he is. And this is, to me, Wildes, a typical Clippers playoff win in this regard. And I know this is going to sound redundant. But when the Clippers look great, they look great. And that's what it was on Friday night. It was like, oh my God, look at them. Or for Saturday night, whichever night it was. I get my weekends run together, too much tequila. Whatever night it was, it's like, wow, how does this team get beat? Look at all Reggie Jackson is a flamethrower from 3. They have all these options. They didn't even have to use playoff Rondo, who, by the way, has been playoff Rondo this series and this playoffs, and he's got 2 DNP coaches' decisions last couple of games. But there is, when things, I know this is going to sound odd, and people are like, Nick, you're hating on the Clippers, but I mean it. I think I would have a little more confidence in them if this was a tie game with 5 minutes left and they won it, rather than running away from the Jazz. Because there are still some of the same concerns I have about their execution late in games. We didn't get to see it this game because they were so far ahead. And at some point, the Clippers do have to address this. Broussard mentioned 10 games of these playoffs. 10 games of these playoffs, and 9 of those 10, the other team's best player has just lit them on fire. Like Luka did it 6 times. Donovan had a quiet 30 in a game that he didn't play most of the fourth quarter, pardon me. Like, Wilds, that is a concern. That they don't, except for the one Kawhi game where he matched up on Luka, I think it was game 6, they haven't really shown the ability to stop the opposing team's best guy. And the Jazz have so many good shooting options that you're going to have to score a bunch. And if Reggie Jackson doesn't continue to shoot 63% from 3, which is what he's shooting this series, I think the Clippers remain in trouble, even if Paul George does give you a couple more 30-point games.
See, Broussard, what do you think about Kawhi sort of modulating his effort? Because he was on Donovan for a little while, and he shut Donovan down. He got a steal, got a dunk, and you could see Donovan frustrated. Now, Donovan had like this, tweaking his ankle a little bit, so he was sort of, I don't think he was full strength either. Felt like at one point in the game, everybody just started to look forward to game 4. But do you think that if when the going gets tough, that Kawhi could go longer on Donovan to really try to shut him down?
I think you'll have to. And look, Nick alluded to it last week. I think I alluded to it maybe a month or so ago. Kawhi appears to be an old 29. I mean, he just can't give it to you on both ends of the court for 40 minutes a night every playoff game. And I remember last year when he was doing the load management his first season with the Clippers, people were telling me, look, in the league, he's got to do this. It is something with the knee. I mean, like, it's not just a mental thing they were saying where he just doesn't want to play or whatever. He feels like he has to do it, and he does have to do it. Now, this year, credit to him, he played a lot of back-to-backs. He's obviously going every night in the playoffs. But I think the Clippers almost are like, look, we're going to try to win it without exhausting him on the defensive end. But when push comes to shove, if we absolutely have to put him there on the best guy defensively, then we're going to have to do it. And I almost think there's a deal, and he knows it too. We'll try to win without me having to guard Donovan, but if I got to, then I will.
And listen, I was talking to an NFL scout about a player training down here in South Florida, and we're talking about him aging. And I was like, look, sometimes when you see like a Julio Jones, 32, we keep looking at the trends and we look at the data and say, okay, this player is done, because, the last 20, 30 years, when you hit this age, you see a dip in production. Well, a lot of times you need to do a little bit more research and you need to do a deeper dive as a scout to see how does this guy take care of himself. So this whole load management thing, that's why I never was a fan of the discussion, oh, you're a bad player or you're not, one of the greats if you are actually load managing, because everybody's body's built differently. Kawhi, I've seen so many guys,